Hi everybody, it's October 20th, 2016. It's been a while since I've filmed a video. I believe the video that I just put up before this one is another part in the Tower of Power series. Still hoping that maybe I can get that on the water briefly this year before the snow flies for a test drive. And then we'll pull the motor off. We'll pull the lower end off of that again, and properly rebuild the water pump, check for water intrusion in the gear case, that kind of thing. But anyways, got a few other things here I have got to get back to. Just got a parts kit in to fix the automatic oiler on my Steel MS-170 chainsaw, because that last repair I attempted there, I thought I had it squared away. It turns out that wasn't it. So we got a new little kit in. Hopefully that's going to take care of that. My wood shaper, I'm almost done with the wood shaper. I want to finish that and get to work on some MDF panels to finish my formal dining room, which is long overdue. And let's see. I wanted to start teaching myself some TIG welding skills, so I've got to set up the water-cooled torch and everything that came with the old Airco welder. Interesting side note, I just realized watching some videos that A-Bomb, a lot of you guys who watch the Machinist videos probably know A-Bomb. He's Adam Booth, and I actually, not on one of his videos, but actually on another Home Machinist YouTube, what do they call them now? Content provider or whatever it is. Anyways, another guy's channel whose name escapes me at the moment, he was doing a story about his welder, and he was saying it's the same welder that Adam Booth has. And lo and behold, it's a Miller, I think it's a 330 ABP or something like that. But basically it's the Miller version of my Airco welder, because those of you who have seen my Airco welder series probably know that, or just already knew, that Airco welder that I have is actually made by Miller, even though it's branded Airco. And it's a behemoth, and it's real old school, but I just kind of thought it was kind of neat that apparently Adam has one of these old school welders, and if it's good enough for a pro like him, then it's good enough for me. Let's see. What else? Got that. I vowed to myself that I was going to get back to the International Harvester 350 utility tractor project this year, and I still haven't touched that all year. So that's not good. We got the Millomatic 250 is pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to get off my butt and order a couple of springs that it's missing. And then we, test out that MIG welder. What else? The Hendy. You see the chip pan is sitting there in the background behind me. It's been sitting there waiting for a coat of paint for, I think, over a year now. So that's kind of embarrassing. Wanted to move the Wells Index mill and didn't get around to doing that. Cleaning up the shop is obviously another priority that needs to be done. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a flea market find series. This is going to be the Quabog Valley Engineers Association Fall Tractor Show and Swap Meet. There's 3 shows a year. I try to hit all 3 shows. This year, I believe, I think it was the spring show, had a lot of rain, kind of put a damper on things, pardon the pun. And then this past fall show, it's a Saturday and a Sunday. Saturday, it was raining so heavy when I woke up in the morning that I didn't go at all. And it was kind of touch and go all day. And even if I had gone when the rain had stopped later, chances are I wouldn't have seen much, because apparently a lot of the exhibitors and dealers didn't bother either showing up at all because of the heavy rain, or just didn't uncover their stuff. So I debated about whether or not I want to go back on Sunday, on that following Sunday, because that's the second day of the show, and you'd think, well, it might be that it's kind of hard to get some deals. I'm glad I went. I did get a few things. Didn't get to see any real nobody bothered coming back on Sunday with their tractors. There were hardly any tractors on display there to look at. So that was kind of a disappointment. But I walked around for a while. I had to walk around several times because as the day wore on, more people started uncovering and pulling stuff out of their vehicles that they had put under cover. So without further ado, I'm going to reposition the camera so we can get some close-up shots, and we'll go through the bag of goodies that I picked up at the flea market and swap meet. Okay, so the first couple items I bought, I happened upon a vendor who was in the middle of unloading, and he pulled out a toolbox, and it was a Craftsman toolbox, and I decided to look through the toolbox to see if I could find anything of interest, and I found this punch, and it's got some rust on it, but I do believe, I think I found the markings on here. Okay, so this is a Brown & Sharp model 770. I believe it's an automatic punch. And, yeah, it's an automatic punch, and not quite sure why, but you have to manually reset it every time, and I don't know if that's normal or not. It might have some issues. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. It's got a removable tip, so it almost seems like maybe you could, it was designed that you could change the tips on it. But this is remarkably similar to my Starrett one that I picked up a while ago. This is a Starrett number, I think number 16-8 or number 18-8. This one works really well. So I'm not quite sure if this is just going to need to be maybe disassembled and cleaned or what, but actually the more I use it, the more it seems to work fine. So they got some rust here on it, but that was a nice little find, I thought. And then he had an entire stack of these brand new little squares, and they're marked Zona, Z-O-N-A 37-434. And I had never heard of that. They say stainless steel, and they say made in the USA right here. So I thought that was an interesting little square. And then he says, yeah, he says, I sell those for $2 a piece. And it's inches on this side, and on the back side, it looks like it's actually in millimeters. So I thought that was that might be a little handy thing to just throw in a toolbox. So he normally sells these for $2 a piece. And this being rusty and everything, I said, how about $2 for the pair? And he said, yeah, sure. So that was a deal. So I got one of these for $1, and I got this Brown & Sharp automatic punch for $1. The very next item I bought was at another vendor. I picked up this little unit here. This is an All Test Inc. Auto and Truck Diagnostic Equipment Company. And what this is an electronic electrical tester. And what this is, digital engine analyzer. So this has the ability to measure amperage, ohms, volts. So it's like a multimeter. But it also has a tach feature, has a dwell feature, and then down here it has the knob here to select how many cylinders the engine is. So you can use it on an 8-cylinder, 6-cylinder, 5-cylinder, 4-cylinder, and a 2-cylinder. 5-cylinder gas? What the heck's that? Microprocessor digital engine analyzer operating instructions. Came with the manual. It came with this stuff here that looks like it was never even used, which is basically it's a clamp, so you can clamp it on. So you can clamp onto the battery post, and some other little. All right, looks like so you would have a place to clamp this onto the battery post and then clamp your battery cable onto this, and then it gives you a couple of points to actually make your connections, maybe. Just a guess. Have no idea if it works, but physically it looks like it's in really good shape. It's definitely seen some use, judging by the grease and stuff on the connectors there. So the guy said, about $2. Actually, I think he said, make me an offer. I said, $2. And he said, yeah. So for $2, I got that. I'm curious what the max RPM this can handle is. I got that other analyzer I need to fix, the SunTune one. that I tried using on the outboard just the other, well, about a month ago now. And this needs some work, so maybe this digital one will work on that outboard. I don't know. Of course, this is made strictly for 4-stroke engines, but we should be able to do some math and actually figure out what the RPM is, right? Basically, I think if we take the number that this reads when it's set to the 6-cylinder position, if we take that RPM that it's reading and divide it by 2, I believe that will give us the actual, or multiply it by 2, I think. I don't know. We can figure it out though.
Two cycle versus 4 cycles. So the spark plug's going to, on a 2-stroke engine, the spark plug fires every 2 revolutions of the crankshaft for that particular cylinder. And then on a 4-stroke, it fires for every 4 revolutions of the crankshaft on one particular cylinder. So that would make sense, right? So if it's 4 times before it fires, then we're really only seeing half the amount that it's actually firing if it's a 2-stroke. So you take the RPM reading that you get and you multiply it by 2, and that will be the RPMs of the actual 2-stroke engine.
Right? That makes sense? Or am I overthinking this whole thing? The reality is it's going to look at the pulse every single time. Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle. So the next items I bought were from a gentleman who comes to almost every one of those shows and sets up and always has a lot of machinist tools. Last time he had come, he didn't put a lot of stuff out because it was raining badly. This trip, even though Saturday was a washout, he had come back on Sunday and he started to bring some stuff out because of the as time went on and the morning dew and mist that was still hanging around us started to burn off a little bit. People started to get a little bit more confident that maybe it was going to be a decent show, decent day anyways, weather-wise. So first time I went by and he didn't have a lot of stuff out. First thing I spotted was these clamps. And I ended up having to go back for these later, so I'll get back to those in a second. But what I bought on the first pass by was he had a box, and at first I looked in and I thought it just had, some cut off pieces of round stock in there. I looked at it more closely and realized it was a box of homemade arbors, tapered arbors. But when I looked through the whole box, and as I was picking through it, of course, he's talking it up big, trying to get me to buy the whole box and saying what a great deal he'd give me on the whole box. And he started, finally when he saw that I wasn't going to buy the whole box, I forgot what he threw out for a number, and it wasn't horrible, but I just didn't really want it. So finally, I told him, I said, well, I went through the box, I found the only 2 precision ground machine made ones. Not machine made, factory made ones, or production ones, and not home shop. And I said, I'm only interested. I'll give you $10 for this pair. And he said, I think you're crazy for not taking the whole box. So then he wanted to sell me the whole box for $25, and there was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 more in there of the homemade ones. But I said, no, I'll just take these 2 for the 10. And peeled off the $10 for these. This one is a 1.5 inch, and it is marked 1.5 inch, and it's marked Morse USA. So this is a Morse USA precision ground arbor. And for those of you who don't know what this is for, this can be mounted between centers, like on a lathe, or say between a dividing head and a tailstock. And what you do is, this has got a very small, slight taper to it. So even though it says it's 1.25 inch, the reality is at one end it's going to be slightly under 1.25 inch, and at the other end it's going to be slightly over 1.25 inch. And what you do is, if you have like a gear blank, for instance, piece of stock that's round with a hole in it, that's 1.25 inch, you can actually press this into that hole using your arbor press, and then mount this between centers and do whatever operation you want to do on that piece. So this is basically just a holding fixture when you think about it. Like at that one, that's 1.25 inch, and this one, it's heavy. This one is only marked made in Poland, and it's got a number 1 in a triangle, and it's marked 1.5 inches. There's a plus sign on this flat, which would indicate that this is the side that's over 1.5 inches slightly, and so that would be, this is the side that you would insert, and then you press it in this way. So I don't know who makes this, but my experience, the few items I have in my shop here that are made in Poland have all seemed to be exceptional quality. So it seems like the Polish people know how to make machine tools and equipment. I've got a set of micrometers that are kind of like no-name micrometers. I think they may have been sold out of like the MSC catalog or something like that at some point. And they're just marked made in Poland, and they're actually very nice, good quality micrometers. And they were probably pretty reasonably priced because they're imports. But they're not the cheap Taiwanese kind of import. They're actually a decent quality product. So then I left him because he wouldn't take less than, I think, $20 for these clamps. And I don't know, I was feeling stingy that day. I had no idea what these go for. It caught my eye because they're Kant twist clamps, K-A-N-T twist clamps, which those of you who know this company know that Kant Twist makes really nice clamps for metal fabrication welding. Well, these are kind of unique because these actually, somebody put a bolt and a T-nut on here so that you could slide this right into your milling table T-slot, tighten this screw down, and now it's bolted to the table. And the way these work is it's almost like a quick release deal, where if it's down on the table like this is spring loaded, and you just put the pins in these slots right here, and you would adjust this to tighten it down. So you hold down your item. You can set up the two of them if you want, like this, and then have them holding down an item, and then you complete the operation, say on that piece. All you got to do is loosen it slightly so you can get this to push forward enough to get it to disengage the pins, and boom, they snap out of the way. You put your next piece in, clamp it back down. So this would be a really handy thing to use if you were doing multiples of some item. They're marked 3 3/16 of an inch, 1,500 pounds. So I guess that's the holding force that could be generated with this thing, which is pretty impressive. Kant twist fixture clamp. It's got a really long number on here, 952080872272. I think I Googled these and found that they typically trade for $35 or $40 on eBay for a pair of these. So his price was actually reasonable on these. I think mainly because he really didn't have any idea what they were worth. He just figured that the way they looked, I guess, that they were going to be, at least worth that money. So what ended up happening was, remember I said I walked away. Well, I went back later because he had brought some more stuff out. And lo and behold, amongst the things that he had brought out, I spotted this indicator base, which I didn't really feel like buying any more indicator bases, but I noticed this one. This had an indicator on here. And I said to him, well, what would you take for this base without the indicator? Because I don't want the indicator. He's like, you don't want the indicator? I said, no, just the base. I think this might be a Starrett. I've seen Starrett magnetic push-button bases just like this. And this is all red and has the wording on it. And somebody removed all of what was written on here. So we have no idea who makes this. I can't find any other markings on it. So I don't know whether or not it's a cheapy import or if it's a Starrett. But I like this push-button style better than the knob ones. Because the knob ones that I have, every single one of them seems like the knob is either loose or already broken off and falling off. So this seems like a little bit better of a design. So he said, without the indicator, forgot what he said for a price, and then I was like, oh. And then when I was there earlier in the day, I asked him, I said, hey, you don't happen to have a coaxial indicator? And he said, no, he doesn't have a coaxial indicator. The reason why he said he doesn't have a coaxial indicator is because he didn't know what a coaxial indicator was. How do I know that? Because when I went back when I went back, lo and behold, I looked down and what do I see sitting in there? A Blake coaxial indicator. And I'd been looking for one. I'd been looking for one of these. So, got a nice Blake coaxial indicator. It actually seems like it's in really good shape. Moves freely. In its original case, comes with the rod that keeps it from spinning around on you. And then, if I can get this out, it comes with several extra points or extensions, including this extra long one, so that if you want to indicate a fairly large hole or the outside of a large diameter. So basically what this is for is this is for use on your milling machine. This part of it right here would go up into a collet on your mill, and this is used to locate the center of a hole or a round object. If if you sweep around the outside of it, you can use it to find the center point on a big round disc, for instance. Or if you want to find the dead center of a bore, you can do that with this, and you can do it quickly, which is nice. Now, do I need this? Probably not. Could use a last word or best test indicator and could do the same exact thing, but I just think these are neat, and I kind of wanted one. Came close to buying one a couple of times on eBay. The guy at my local flea market, who's a machinist by trade but dabbles in the flea markets on the weekend, he had a Blake just like this one for sale at one point in his booth, and he wanted $100 for it. And I passed on that, and like a couple weeks later I went back and it was gone, and I says, "Oh, you sold that indicator?" He says, "Nah," he says he actually decided to keep it for himself, and he put it back in his toolbox at work. So when I saw he had this, and he told me how much he wanted for this, I bundled this stuff. I pulled a Frank on American Pickers, did a bundle, and then ended up pulling off a pretty good deal for myself. I ended up getting all of this for $60. The way I figured it is, I paid $15 for these clamps, for the pair of clamps, $5 for this indicator stand with the indicator clamp, and $40 for this Blake indicator. And that was what I figured out. I figured that's it. That's my last purchase from this guy today. And as I was, walking away, it occurred to me that I had seen a second one of these indicators on his table. I went back and I took the nicer of the two initially. I went back, offered him $35 for this one, and he took the $35 for this one. This one needs to be cleaned up. It's got some of this deteriorated foam that's in here stuck to it, but it's a free moving indicator. It's still in excellent shape. Okay. The problem with this one, really, the only other problem I see with this one is it's missing the rod that keeps it from spinning, but you can make one of those easy enough. And then the other thing is, this one has 5 points. This one only has 4 points, and the really long one here is actually bent. And it's bent weird. It's bent. It's like it's got a bend in it going this way here, and then another bend on the end here. So somebody really kind of mangled that for whatever reason. But the funny thing is, it's still actually usable even that way. But I have utmost confidence that I'll be able to clean this up very little bit and list it on eBay and probably end up making a profit on the sale of this one, which will end up making this an even sweeter deal than it already is. Then I spotted another dealer that I've frequented him in the past. So anyways, he's very reasonable on his prices, and I came across and saw he had only 2 indicators, didn't have much machine stuff this time around, but he had these two indicators. So I looked at this indicator, noticed it's got a price on it of $12. Open it up, lo and behold, what do we have here? We have a test, half thousandths indicator. And other than the fact that somebody looks like they took fingernail polish and put a little dab here and there, other than that, it's actually a pretty nice indicator. Moves nice and freely, no issues. The little dovetail groove there, or whatever you want to call them, could probably be cleaned up a little bit. But this is a nice indicator. It's in the, by the looks of it, this is a test case, so it's probably the original case. Okay, and it might be missing a couple of the accessories. I'm not sure what originally would have come with this indicator. What's in here now is, most importantly, the little shoe that basically this slides. This little dovetail deal here, and that slides on there, or it could slide on the back here. Okay, so got that, and then also got this this rod right here, which I'm not quite sure what the deal is there. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. That's a nice indicator. But for those of you who don't know, test is actually a very good indicator. And a lot of these test indicators, I think, if I'm not mistaken, were marketed under the Brown and Sharp name. So a lot of these, lots of times you'll see an indicator that'll look just like this. Some of them have a black dial, and some have the silver dial. But they'll say Brown and Sharp on them. But they're actually made by Test. So, anyways, this is a really good indicator. So he had $12 on it. I knew I was going to be able to get it for 10. But then I was looking also at this one. He hadn't had this one marked. Oh, what do we got here? Another nice indicator. This one is a Mitutoyo half thousandths indicator, also in excellent shape. This one has a couple of points in the box with it. It's also got the little all-important little shoe there. Okay, this one has actually two of them. It has this larger one, diameter one, and then it has this one here on the back of this. So anyways, I got this one. It's also got this right here. But anyways, I got this one in the original case. And this is a 513902 Mitutoyo half thousandths indicator. I got this one and this one. I got the pair for $15. So that's probably the deal of the day. $7.50 for a test and $7.50 for a Mitutoyo, both half thousandths indicators, both in good working condition. Then as I was walking to my car, I stopped at a dealer who had some boxes of tools on the ground. I happened to spot this push stick, and I got it for $1. So this was my last purchase of the day there. This is just a Saw Aid made in USA push stick. It's made out of a really strong plastic. And it's just basically, it's got this little hook on it right here so that you can grab a board and push it through the saw. But also because of the angle that you hold this at, you can get a good downward pressure to keep the board down on the table and push it through the blade. And if it kicks back, this pops off, your hand's up high and away from the blade, which is nice. They also decided, I guess, since they're making it, they'll give you a couple extra features. It's got 2 rulers built in. From this edge right here going this way, you can go up to 6 inches. And then from this edge over here at the end going this way, you can go up to 9 inches. 9 inches. And it's got a 90-degree angle here, a 30-degree angle here, and a 45-degree angle here. They also added a width gauge in 1/8 inch increments. So one notch is 1/8 of an inch, another notch 1/4 of an inch, and another notch is 3/8, and so on and so on and so on, all the way up to 1.5 inches. So that's, you know how handy that is. That would probably be handy maybe if you were setting up a stacked dado head or something like that. Not sure. And it also has a center finder, which is for posts. So if you want to, this would be handy if you were trying to find the center in a blank that you were going to put in a wood lathe. So you would just slap this on there, draw a line, and go around, and you could find your center that way. So that's a nice little tool for $1. All right, I'm getting ready to close out this this clip about the QVEA flea market, and wanted to show these 2 canoe paddles that I picked up. One's got a long handle, one's got a short handle. They're both the Feather brand Cavaniss Woodworking Company Incorporated of Calhoun City, Mississippi, USA. So, you know, the urethane's kind of thin on them in some spots, but they're pretty nice paddles. And I got the pair for $10 for the pair. Either 10 or 5, I forgot what. Either way, it's a deal. So that's going to be great, because I got that old canoe I picked up. This is a it says Allagash, and it's a canoe company that was up in Vermont. It's been bought out now by a larger canoe manufacturer, I think out of New York. But this is actually a pretty nice canoe. So I'll be looking forward to using this canoe next season with the my new paddles. And this is the pair of oars that I picked up for $8. And they actually weren't broken when I got them, but they were separating. You can actually see here, you can see the split right there. Okay, this one was split like that also, only you can see it was split pretty much almost the length of it, and it basically just gave way. But that's an easy fix. Just glue it and clamp it. And I've got some wood glue that's weatherproof or whatever, wood glue for outdoor wood projects, and I'll probably use that on it. Don't see a maker on these. And these have these interesting oar locks. I'm used to the stirrup style ones that have a pin that actually goes through. These just have they're just loops that the oars go through. So, but you know, I was happy to get those for $8.